I'm always happy to see a reserve tank as the first item besides Morph Ball
Can you tell me
because
why,
it's
though?
always the item I guess to be there, and I like to be right.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's a selfish act.
What do you expect from someone naming himself after a chain smoking, gambling, and drinking robot?
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have expected anything more. But thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. And I see both runners have started off heading down to Blue Brinstar.
Yep. So my guess here is Wave Beam. I think we're gonna get Morph Ball and Wave Beam. Y'all can make your own guesses, and of course Bender wants to see the reserve tank. Unfortunately.
Yes, my guess is on the reserve tank as always. I've mostly been wrong with that though. So the runners still have some hope left for getting a useful item.
All right. So we will get our first item revealed very shortly. And we have simply an E-Tank, which I'm okay with. You need E-Tanks at the beginning. There's no issue with that whatsoever. Stray's feed seems to have stopped.
We at least know that he will also
Oh,
get the
okay.
E-Tank.
So it looks like Stray actually got a crash on that. And we may need a reset for this. I'm not sure if we need a new seed generated. Let me just try to coordinate with what's going on in chat here.
In the meantime, we get revealed by Belthasar that the second item is Morphing Ball, so the seed is not entirely corrupt.
All right, so Belthasar has also forfeited for this. Luckily, we saw the first two items, so we at least got something for sticking around. But in the meantime, we may have a little bit of a timeout here. They do need a new seed generated due to Stray's issue with his SD2, I think. So let me go ahead and generate that for the runners. I'm going to take a... I'm going to mute my mic for a few minutes, but I will be back. In the meantime, Bender is going to sing show tunes for you. And yeah, I'll see you soon.
Yes, that is an interesting request that Typo made. We'll see if I can fulfill it. Unfortunately, the answer is no. But in light of the upcoming election, I can maybe suggest rewatching or heading to YouTube and rewatching the wonderful musical The Producers. It's good in its own right. And yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait. Very unfortunate that we saw Straevaras crashing on that seat. But well, that's life. PJ, I'm actually not entirely sure. I haven't experienced a crashing seed so far. It might be the seed or it might be the hardware. In any case, we get a new seed, and Straevaras is probably not going to get new hardware, so we just hope that if it was his hardware, it was just a transient glitch.
Indeed, and I do think it probably is just the firmware version that Stray is using. I'm not sure what version he's using, but if it's not the latest, then that may be the cause of the issue. The differences in hardware, I would assume, would only be if someone was using something like a UFO 8 versus the SD to SNES. But both runners do have their seeds now, and they will be loading up a new one. And everyone just cross their fingers, and hopefully we don't get a crash this time.
And to celebrate the crash that we had, both runners are showing us a blank blue screen. That's very considerate.
Yeah, kind of represents the great unknown we're entering into when starting to watch a randomizer match.
Yeah, straight into the blue.
All right, so it looks like we had Zila, Powamp, Zila, and Gamut. Not too good with my enemy names in Super Metroid, so I only know what one of those are. I don't know what the other two are.
Then you actually can point to one more than I can.
Wow.
But I'm quite sure a double Zila is pointing towards a very interesting seed.
Possibly, and hopefully something that the runners will find useful. I know chat might like to see a little bit of backtracking and confused runners, and possibly suitless Meridia, and things that you don't usually see in randomizers. But I'm going to have a little bit of empathy for the runners here, since I was also a runner in this tournament at one time. And hopefully things go well for both of them, and we see a very good and rather fast match.
Yeah, someone who doesn't really run the game, but who does watch the tournament, I always like to see the runners sweat a bit and have to work for their success. But on the other hand, I don't wish anybody one of those really really bad seeds where the matches take very long and where it's just generally very taxing and yeah.
I can't understand that sentiment though, where you do like to see the runners sweat a bit. It's always a nice thing to see, even if it's just for entertainment purposes. And we see Straevaras has a special timer here, one of the extended timers where you only see the hour.
I think it's the minutes, and to be fair, in most cases that should be fine-grained enough in terms of time. So, what's your guess for the first item?
I am going to change my guess to high jump boots. I really want to see that.
Oh yeah, that would be a really really nice first item to get. Not really for the first part of the game, but all the later areas basically assume that you have high jump boots, and lots of jumps are getting a lot more complicated and need a bit of a tight setup, or are just need you to wall jump repeatedly. And with high jump boots, it's very convenient to not have to adapt to that.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is pretty boring, and we see another E-Tank. But on the plus side, we do not have any crashes. However, Stray, just having a little bit of trouble here, he still needs to grab that power bomb as well. And there he goes.
And it seems Stray is resetting the room. So yeah, we've seen it repeatedly in this tournament that even really good runners, and Stray is definitely one of the SM veterans, holding RBO world record for quite a while, but has been beaten recently. So yeah, you see even people like Stray struggling to get that on the first try every time. So yeah, it's a bit finicky.
Yeah, I mean, no insult to any runner's ability. We know that these two are some of the top players in Super Metroid, and as Bender pointed out, Stray did hold the RBO world record for a long time, and he does things in this game that I could never think of doing. So if I do mention anything in a derogatory sense towards any runners, it's purely in jest and good fun. And I hope if they watch the commentary afterwards, they don't consider me a jerk of any kind.
That does not apply to me. I want to be considered a jerk based on my nickname, and I suggest that every runner takes every non-positive comment I make about them very personally and as an attack on their very character.
Now you see, this is nice because we have two runners coming from different areas. I mean, sorry, two commentators coming from different areas. So, yeah, I'm sure chat will enjoy this. All right, so a reserve tank here for Belthasar. Unfortunately, not too useful, but he'll take it anyway.
Yeah, that early in the game, you don't really know if you will run into many energy tanks later on, or in the immediate future, which is Brinstar and Norfair, and you really want to have maybe 2 or 3 E-tanks to be able to do a hell run, because short hell runs might even be mandated by the game.
Indeed.
And if you decide to go to wrecked ship, despite both runners we see here being really capable and should be able to beat Phantoon with a single E-tank, I'm pretty sure both of them would prefer to have a second one. And reserve tank is the poor man's E-tank.
Yeah, it is. I don't mind having them, especially when they come in use later on when I'm about to die. So I'll insult them early on, and then when they help me later on, I'll completely ignore it and continue insulting them whenever I pick up one in a rando. But we do see that both runners got the Spazer gun, which is an okay gun to get early on. Not everyone's favorite. Do you have a certain opinion on Spazer, Bender?
Not really. I know it's quite a meme item and some people love it and some people hate it, but I totally agree. That early in the game, it's a nice bit of more damage. It also increases your beam's hitbox. Nothing wrong with picking that up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really mind the Spazer gun that much. It's a pretty good gun early on.
And Belthasar has taken a slight lead, as it seems, of maybe 10-15 seconds, and is basically leaving early supers while Stray is just entering it.
All right, so we have another unfortunate item as we see Belthasar enter this area here, and they are picking up some miners. You know, they have 15 missiles, 15 supers for Belthasar, 15 missiles, 10 supers for Strays. About to pick up another pack here, so pretty good amount of miners here so far. They could use another power bomb pack, but still lacking interesting items. Still looking for something more interesting than Spazer.
On the plus side, since we have seen 2 reserve tanks already, we know that only 2 are left, while the majority of items is left. So the chance of seeing more reserve tanks is rapidly diminishing.
And that is a big pickup for Belthasar there. High jump boots is going to make the gate glitch in Big Pink easier. Not only that, it also allows him to head down to Lower Norfair if he happens to find Very at some point. So nice for Belthasar to find that here. Stray also grabbing high jump boots. I think both of these runners are happy about that.
Yeah, not grabbing high jump boots at this location and at this point in the run would be a very puzzling decision.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anyone that actually dislikes high jump boots. Like, actually shies away from it. I would imagine not.
I do remember one runner not picking them up in a race, but he was basically heading out of Meridia, and I think they were in Bot Wound's item location, and the time he would have saved picking them up at this point, that late in the game, he couldn't have saved by getting them this late. But that's the only occasion that I remember.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. All right, so Stray checking this item here. It is Ice Beam. So with high jump boots and Ice Beam, that means that early Meridia without gravity is open to Stray now.
Yes, and we also might not see any of the runners picking up more power bombs, since with Ice Beam and missiles you can just kill the Metroids in Turian the fast way. And we see Belthasar pick up Spring Ball, the undoubtedly best item in the game.
And for the remainder of this race, I will call it Meme Ball. This is a request from another commentator and runner in this tournament who will remain unnamed. But yes, both runners getting Meme Ball here.
Yeah, and Spring Ball can indeed be very useful. They got high jump already, but especially if you don't have any additional mobility items, Spring Ball jumps have been becoming quite popular in this tournament since they allow you to escape various places like the Golden Chorizo item in Lower Norfair rather easily and without frame perfect, pixel perfect wall jumps and things like that.
And Belthasar at 3 energy here, exiting that side hopper room. Nothing in his reserves. That was quite scary.
Yes, close to death, and that would have cost him almost 10 minutes, which is quite a lot. And Stray is about to reveal to us what is in the vanilla Spacer location.
Simply an E-Tank, but Belthasar probably wants the E-Tank at this point, so he'll be happy to see that, unless he decides to use the energy refill. I think he will not. I think that, in general, the new logic seems to put a lot of E-Tanks up front sometimes, just due to a more even distribution of all the major items, so he'll probably just bet on that.
Yes, something Belthasar is obviously not betting on is finding Charge Beam. While Stray is a bit ahead in terms of his position, Belthasar already has 25 supers, which is 10 more. So he doesn't seem happy with gambling on finding Charge Beam, and instead collecting supers.
Yeah, the good thing about the amount of items he has here, though, the missiles and supers, is he's already all set, pretty much, for a Ridley fight, considering his ammo. With a few well-placed power bombs, the amount of missiles and supers he has is enough to defeat Ridley. So, comfortable from map perspective, still needs a lot more if he were to not find Charge.
Yes, I totally agree. And I'm pretty sure both of these runners will go for a very early Lower Norfair if they end up finding Varia suit.
Yep, would totally agree with that. It's pretty much the best bet here. They do want a little more energy. I personally would not be comfortable going into Lower Norfair with 2 or even 3 E-Tanks, although a lot of people are comfortable with low ice and rather low energy conditions, so that is purely up to the runners.
Yeah, I agree. I was basically expecting to be 1 or 2 E or reserve tanks among the items they will check in Norfair before heading down.
Yeah, I would definitely hope for that.
And Cray did hold the X-ray scope, and at least Stray did pick it up.
Always a nice pickup, in case you feel like you're going to get plasma and charge somewhere along the way. Also can be used for stand-up glitch. I'm not sure how. I don't have that knowledge. I've never tried using it that way, but apparently you can like save yourself from getting soft locked or something.
If anyone knows a lot about this and is able to explain it in every detail you could wish for, I can redirect people to Eternized Dragon, who I have seen in the chat, and he certainly knows all the details about this.
All right, so Stray did pick up another E-Tank. He's at what is he at? Is he at 3 A-Tanks and 1 reserve or 2 reserves? Can't remember what he picked up.
I think he did pick up only 1 reserve, but I'm not entirely sure.
All right, so a light hell run here into the ice area where he will pick up hopefully a pretty neat item. I'm hoping for Varia here. Ooh, and getting stuck there just temporarily.
Yeah, that is painful if you don't have Varia suit because you take damage based on time.
You can see that Stray
And
paused there and cursed the Chozo statue holding that awful item.
yeah, you could feel how his disappointment with the item that he found. And I was not sure if Stray was considering going down to Crocomire, but without speed, certainly not this way.
And Belthasar picking up his 4th E-Tank, so with 4 E-Tanks and a reserve, he is getting more and more comfortable to do at least hell runs. And hopefully sometime in the future finding Varia and going down to Lower Norfair early, because we know that would most likely be the most efficient route.
Yes, and at this point, both runners are basically still head to head, separated by just half a room and a number of minor items. So far, this is an interesting race, and Belthasar is taking a safety save.
And I totally agree with that. With 4 E-Tanks, 1 reserve, if he's going to the right, well, he's going to go to ice first. I completely forgot that he didn't do that yet. But if he needs to go to the right, even with 4 E-Tanks and a reserve, it can be pretty tricky to get through there. And we see Stray doing that now.
And let's not forget, even if the runners are able to pull some trick that is not even that hard, of 99 out of 100 times, they still just have one shot in these races, and you really don't want to die 15 minutes into the race just because you messed up some trick, which is something, well, you basically see every runner do sooner or later in a race.
So Stray going to Speed Booster first, obviously because he needs to do some farming beforehand. He's going to want all the energy he can get. He does not have speed yet, so this is going to be a slower room. And he doesn't know if speed is at the end of it, so the exit may, or most likely, is going to be slower. So both runners have to be very cautious with their energy here.
And Belthasar is handing out supers like candy to the seahorses, the lava seahorses, whose proper name I actually have forgotten.
Yeah, I always just call them seahorses as well. I knew their proper name for about 2 days after someone mentioned it, and I told myself I'd never forget it. And of course, I don't recall it anymore. And Plasma Beam, very nice. So that is 1 beam out of 2 for taking advantage for X-Ray. Maybe Stray will find charge very soon.
Yes, and even without the consideration for X-Ray, having Plasma is certainly very useful if they find Varia and go down to Lower Norfair. Because most of the enemies there are very, very tanky, do a lot of damage, and with Plasma, you at least have the option of killing them in an acceptable amount of time.
So nice farming sync here between our 2 players.
Yeah, at this point...
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you
there. Me neither. So go on. I was just about to give some shoutouts to Harvest Moon anyways.
Oh, okay. I have not played Harvest Moon, so I'm sorry. I'll continue to interrupt you and say that Belthasar is grabbing Plasma Beam now, while Straevaras goes and takes a look at what is in this wreck ship reserve tank room, hoping it's something pretty good here like speed or Varia. Those are the two I'm looking for.
Without intending to be a know-it-all, but I think this is the Norfair reserve tank room,
Oh,
not
did
red
I
ship.
just say wreck ship? I did, didn't
Yes.
I? Oh god. Okay. All right. I'm okay. I'm not having an aneurysm or anything.
If it happens again, we should maybe call 911 just in case.
Okay. All right. I'll keep it on speed dial.
And Straevaras is opting to also check wave beam. Not something unexpected, given that he hasn't really found a nice progress item yet. Guess both these runners really want to see Varia suit. Oh, and Stray is going back to farm up to full health again, I presume.
Indeed, he is. Just need to make sure you can get through this. Belthasar only doing this with 4 tanks instead of 5, so he has to be careful. But he looks pretty good here. Those spikes do a lot of damage though, without any suit. I believe they do 80 damage, if I'm not wrong. He does pick up screw attack here for his troubles, but I don't think that's the item he wants to see just yet.
He certainly will appreciate this item a lot if he if it turns out that they do find Varia suit, because it's going to make a lower Norfair relatively easy. But yeah, with just screw attack alone, there's not much you can do at this point.
All right, so Belthasar making quick work of that. Very nice. I would have panicked myself and probably died in some awful, awful way. So I always like seeing that kind of gameplay where the runner is very competent in what he does and does it in a very spectacular way. So thank you, Belthasar.
And after that, Belthasar safety saves again. I can't blame him for using the save station quite a lot in this run. We've seen more than once that a runner gets bitten by a death later on. So yeah, nice to see runners learning from the mistakes of others.
So Straevaras heading downward here. He's going to do some farming. He does not have wave beam yet, so if he feels like going to Crocomire or the general Crocomire area, just for a vacation maybe, he will have to use the gate glitch, which you can do either super missiles or supers. And he has started to try this out. Gets through, I think, about on his 5th try. And now he will head down towards Croc.
Belthasar, in the meantime, is going to check the Norfair reserve tank location and find his E-tank there.
It's possible that I'm not okay, because I did say super missiles or supers. But keep in mind here, I'm just rambling on, and in general, if I do say anything wrong, for the entertainment of chat, not because I don't know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about 100% of the time. That is confirmed.
And Stray is actually fighting Crocomire. The question is now if Belthasar is going to do the same. I would actually expect him to do the same, but we could also see him going maybe back up to wrecked ship, but I think that's unlikely.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do exactly without speed. Now, the thing is, speed could be hanging out somewhere in wreck ship. It's always a chance you have to take. But I'm hoping they get something good at grapple, because we see that Stray just picks up another E-tank here after Croc, which is kind of unfortunate. He is at 6 E-tanks and 1 reserve now. So the hope is that they find something significant here at grapple.
Yeah, so far they have found a number of very, very useful auxiliary items like Spring Ball and Screw Attack. and Plasma Beam, but they're really lacking some progress item that really opens up more than Suitless Meridia for them.
All right, so let's see if Stray takes the save here. He does not. He's betting on an item to be here. You can take a tactical save there and just reset if the item happens to be some kind of nonsense, like, I guess, the final reserve tank. Have we seen that yet? We've only seen 3, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think we've only seen 3. So, yeah. One sucker face is left among the items. Yet.
And unfortunately, Croc is a no-go in general. Just a bunch of energy tanks.
Yeah, but we will see Belthasar suffer the same fate. But he might make up a bit of time relative to Stray if he decides to take a strategical save right before actually checking the item.
So it looks like next on the list for our runners is going to be Wrecked Ship. We didn't see them check X-Ray yet, but they do not really have the items to check X-Ray normally, which would be Grapple or Space Jump. So it could be kind of tough to get over there.
And Belthasar is doing the safety save, and I presume with having 6 E-tanks already, we will see him reset upon seeing the energy tank at the grapple beam location.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see any reason for him to pick it up right now. Yeah, so chat bringing up Gauntlet as well. We have not seen that yet. Gauntlet is another kind of one of those things you want to check early on if you can, if you have the items to. And we do see Belthasar resetting there, so that tactical save did come in handy for him.
Yes, and while I agree that it is quite useful to check Gauntlet because it can hold many useful items, none of the suits is among those. So the one item both runners really want to see at this point, Warrior Suit, is certainly not going to be in Gauntlet.
I would place a bet that Varia is somewhere where you really just do not want it to be. I would think that we're going to get one of those seeds where Gravity is in Lower Norfair, unfortunately, and Varia is sitting somewhere within Meridia. Maybe at Mama Turtle, maybe at Left Sandpit, maybe at Phantoon.
We might also get lucky in a certain sense and see Speed Booster being at Wrecked Ship and Warrior Suit being at Waterway. The ultimate backtracking experience.
Yeah, that's quite a backtracking experience. So Belthasar taking that route out. I always have a problem with that room just because I always think I'm going to die in it. So I always attempt to do it, and then I'm like, okay, I've gone the wrong way, and I head back the other way.
And Belthasar seems to share your sentiment. While Straevaras seems slightly confused about what item to use to open that green door. Probably confused by having X-Ray among his items, but not Grapple Beam. And it seems that Straevaras is going to do Suitless Meridia.
I find this extremely interesting. I love seeing this kind of thing because I think Belthasar is going to choose to go to Wreck Ship. So we'll be able to see what goes on there while Stray decides to do Suitless Meridia. And we'll see which runner gets it right, basically. Comes down to the luck factor here.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to see Stray going for Suitless Meridia. as we mentioned earlier, he did hold the RBO world record for quite some time. And so he certainly is very familiar and very comfortable with doing Suitless Meridia and with doing it pretty fast.
Yeah, so everyone has probably heard this a lot, but if you didn't hear from the last match, that freeze that Stray just did there of that fish, that when you first enter the room, that fish is actually moving up higher than when you spend some time in the room. It slowly moves down a bit. So it's initially pretty hard to freeze that fish in the position where you can jump up on it. And the hitboxes are kind of notoriously bad. So the fact that Stray was able to get that so quickly kind of speaks to his experience in doing RBO.
Yes, and watching his Suitless Meridia in general, this all looks very efficient and very well practiced, and yeah, pretty fast for being underwater with no suits. So,
Right.
yeah, he certainly knows what he's doing.
All right. Meanwhile, Belthasar heading up towards wrecked ships. So we are seeing that divergence, and should be an interesting list of items for both players here. And Stray will be the first one to grab one. Gonna check Mama Turtle here. Oh, and almost KOs through, or does at least. And it is Wave Beam, which is not too useful in the grand scheme of things, considering what he's missing.
Yeah, Wave Beam is another one of those items that you really like to have because it adds damage and gives you the ability to open wave gates easily, but it's not really a progress item.
Ooh, and Stray falling down there. So that means he will have to do the right room. Sorry, the left room again. Oh, unless he wants to go down. Oh yeah, he just wants to go down. Okay. Well, I'm an idiot now. It's fine.
I was about to say, since he does not have Grapple Beam and has not found Grapple Beam, he probably has got the suspicion that this seed is not intended to be about Suitless Meridia. And without Grappling Beam, Suitless Meridia takes quite a bit longer. And so I guess we will now see him head to Wrecked Ship 2.
Yeah.
And one other possibility I think we haven't talked about is that X-Ray is holding some interesting item. I'm not sure how if the logic can force you to check X-Ray without having either Grappling Beam or Space Jump, but instead quite a lot of health. I presume not, since the damage boosts you have to do are anything but easy. But this would also be an interesting location for a progress item.
And unfortunately, we just saw our final reserve tank. Belthasar checking Gauntlet, hoping for one of the items that he might need or want, or even just something better than a reserve tank, but unfortunately it was a reserve tank. So we'll now see both runners head into Wreck Ship.
Yes, and let's all be happy for having seen all reserve tanks and therefore not having to see any single one again.
So now we have an ultimate route convergence with both runners at once grabbing the missile in the middle of Moat.
Yeah, we are 32 minutes in and it's still head to head. And Straevaras seems to have gotten the idea to also check Gauntlet, which Belthasar just did. But as we know, it's just another reserve tank. And Stray not saving before going into Gauntlet.
Right. So he will experience a slight time loss here because he's going to grab the reserve tank, probably curse the villain that placed reserve tank there, which is myself because I generated this seed, and then head back.
So you did place the reserve tank there implicitly by generating the seed, and you say all kinds of derogatory things are to be taken just in jest? You're really trusting those people to give you the benefit of the doubt?
I would hope so. I'm not going to be seen in a nice light by the end of the tournament, and I apologize for that. But sometimes you can get some fans from being the villain as well.
Yeah, well, if this would be a James Bond film, I certainly would have to take the role as the villain, since, Germans are, for some reason, quite fitting for those.
So Belthasar, attempting to do CWJ here. Belthasar actually, I've seen him do the spring ball strat here. Meme ball. What am I thinking? So he actually posted a video where he does the meme ball strat, where he basically jumps from one end to the other using that platform in the middle. And it's pretty interesting, but he seems to be going for CWJ here instead. And he gets it, so very nice. And Stray gets it, so once again we have pretty much a synchronization. Awesome.
Yeah, you really can tell that both these runners have won. One of the previous matches is probably well deserved if they are head to head still after 35 minutes in a race.
Indeed, yeah. So very good race so far. We see that the boss collection and the item defeats so far in this tournament have been the same for Belthasar and Straevaras. And so they're both approaching a Phantoon now.
Yes, Belthasar is having a number of minor items more than Straevaras, but Straevaras has in turn taken a look at parts of Meridia already. So, yeah. And all of the major items they collected are absolutely identical, except I think Belthasar has taken 2 E-tanks and Straevaras only has 1. So just minor differences.
Alright, so Phantoon RNG will probably be the determining factor for this match. We'll see what happens here. Belthasar waiting for that long respawn. Unfortunately, only gets a few shots in there before Phantoon despawns again and goes into his next pattern. Stray getting a pretty quick kill, so Belthasar unfortunately getting another fast despawn from Belthasar. Jeez, I'm completely out of it right now. Belthasar only hit 3 missiles there in a row for Phantoon, so Phantoon left the screen pretty quickly, whereas Stray is heading out now and he will start collecting his items in wreck ship.
Yeah, Belthasar doesn't have as much luck and isn't executing this Phantoon fight as well as Stray did, but he just killed Phantoon himself too. So the difference in terms of time is still pretty minor.
So Stray is going to check his first major item in wreck ship here.
And at this point, after the number of E-tanks we've seen and all the reserve tanks, this has to be something useful.
And it's an E-tank. So after the E-tanks we've seen, we're getting more E-tanks.
At what point does this stop?
I don't know.
Yes, I know when we've seen all 14.
I really hope that the item that they're looking for is not at the reserve tank, because that would be unfortunate unless they found speed at gravity or speed at the wreck ship E-tank. One of those 2 spots.
Yeah, but actually so far This seed seems like it's going to be one of the more evil ones. Oh, and Straevaras Kegoing through that platform and taking quite a bit of damage in Spiky Death Room. I mean, has still quite a bit of health left, and he's certainly a capable runner. But we've seen repeatedly in the tournament why Spiky Death Room is called Spiky Death Room.
Yes, we have. Unfortunately, that is not the item Stray wanted to see there. You saw that he turned off high jump boots there, makes the jump a bit easier. And you don't want to fall down there without gravity, because it takes forever to get out. So, unfortunately, since Stray did not take the save, he'll have to backtrack.
And when I answered my rhetorical question about when this streak of E-tanks ends with when we've seen all 14, I was not expecting that to be actually the answer to that question.
Well, that leaves us with 2 items left. The first item that Stray will see, unless he does not check it beforehand, will be the one that he sadly cannot get yet. So, I can only hope for speed at gravity, because speed cannot be at wreck ship reserve tank.
I will go out on a limb here and say that the wreck ship reserve tank item will be speed booster. Will be Varia suit, and that the wreck ship main item will be space jump.
Space jump, okay.
And right. Speed booster or grapple beam, but I go for space jump, and speed booster will be at X-ray.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I can go with that. Unfortunately, it's another E-tank. I'm
sorry.
I don't know what happened with these last 2 seeds. You thought the last seed was mean? Well, welcome to Game 3, where this is one of the worst seeds I've seen in the tournament so far. Apologies to both of these runners for having to go through this, and hopefully they find something good very soon.
Yes, at this point I certainly can see both of them being slightly frustrated, going from place to place and just getting, well, partly nice items, but nothing that really helps them to progress, and just lots of E-tanks.
Oh, so Stray gets to take a breather from this brilliant seed, while Belthasar is right behind him. And hopefully they just get a chance to relax and think about all the better seeds they will encounter in the future, because nothing can get quite as bad as this. And I'm still lying. I can think of some scenarios where it could get worse. I just hope it doesn't happen.
It will really be interesting to see what will be the wreck ship main item, because at this point it has to be some progress item, I guess.
And it is gravity suit, so that's good. Allows for an easy progression through Meridia. The only problem is, where are the items I need? They're all in Meridia. They could be at the Sand Pit, they could be at Shack Tool, they could be at Plasma. Basically, and I think you would agree with me here, Bender, Meridia is just a huge time waste in terms of finding items, because you have to do so much running around.
Yeah, and it will certainly be interesting to see what kinds of gambles the runners will make in skipping item locations or not skipping them. Because there's lots of items in Meridia that really are time consuming. I can offhand think of Shack Tool, for which we probably will need to see Grapple Beam first, because I don't expect any of these runners attempting to do any of the crazy stuff to glitch through that crumble grapple block. And Plasma Beam is also a bit of a detour. And then we have both sand pits with the round trips you need to make. Yeah, I certainly agree.
Now, I'm not sure if the logic can force this, but if grapple is at X-ray, and Varia is at Shack Tool, then that seems rather mean.
Yes, I think if that is the case, we can justifiably say that this seed is the middle finger, the raised middle finger of seeds.
All
And in the
right. So,
Oh, and
back into
Belthasar.
Meridia.
Yes, and Belthasar also not jacking X-ray.
Yeah, I believe I've seen a forced ice clip before in a seed. I just wasn't sure because, as many people know, my memory is not that great. I do make a lot of mistakes, but.
I think ice clip cannot be forced.
Oh, it can't. Okay, all right.
Ice clip can be forced, as in ice clip to get to Shack Tool. I'm sorry, I was thinking about what's the name of the health refilling move that drains your ammo? Crystal Flash Clip. Crystal
Oh yeah.
Flash.
If Crystal Flash clip was forced for this tournament, well, I don't know what to say. I think there would be a rather large revolt, except from Sephi. Sephi would probably be okay with that. And Belthasar seeing wave there.
And Belthasar wants that wave beam.
And there it is! Speed booster at left sand pit. If that's not a troll location, then I don't know what is. That is very unfortunate in general.
And Stray thinking twice and going back to also grab this pack of super missiles. At this point, he probably has lost any trust in this seed and expects or considers Charge Beam at Shack Tool to be not the worst thing that could happen. Yeah, and at this point in the game, if they don't find Charge Beam and have the suspicion that they might not find it, it's certainly advisable to pick up the super missiles if you are just right besides the packs anyways.
All right, so what will Stray decide to do here?
My guess is that he will go to check Waterway and oh no.
Yeah, it looks like he's gonna go back into Meridia. So he's just gonna go straight up. I was wondering if he actually would go to Waterway, and that would have been interesting. It would have been a, just a calculated risk, I guess.
Yes, and from what we've seen from this seed so far, I wouldn't be surprised if that gamble would turn out to be the intended solution.
Yeah. All right, so Belthasar will be happy to see the item here. And we'll see what he decides to do with it. He may take the other side of this coin and actually decide to check out Waterway.
And Stray is going to Shack Tool. With hopefully enough ammo, but I trust him on that one.
I do as well. Oh, so Belthasar taking the third option. He has speed. He could go to Waterway. He could continue on to Phantoon, but no, he actually chooses to go to Shack Tool, and he does not have grapple.
Oh right, I totally forgot about the ice clip to Shack Tool, which is commonly done in Hundo. And if he's able to do that, and I think it's not too difficult of a trick, he will be able to check the shack tool item.
And charge is at Phantoon for Stray, so I'm sure Stray is happy to see that. But in the meantime, we're going to see Belthasar attempt to do this ice clip here.
Not just nailing the positioning.
Yeah, as far as I know, the position is pretty exact for where that pancake needs to be. Oh, there we go. All right, nice. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna say I don't know how exact it has to be because I personally have only tried that a few times, and I'm not familiar with how exact it needs to be to the horizontal and vertical position. But maybe someone in chat can give that information.
And now this is going to be interesting because Stray basically has taken the conservative route, going to Dragon, beating Dragon easily, having charge, plasma, and X-ray, but not finding anything useful, just another E-tank. So it certainly was, even in light of what Stray has seen, not too bad an idea by Belthasar to go to Shack Tool. And if he actually...
Unfortunately, it was not a great turnout at Spring Ball Vanilla location after Shack Tool. So hopefully Belthasar takes care... Oh, no, he doesn't take care of Shack Tool. Shack Tool's still alive. And still memeing people and asking them to come get his item when it's just an E-tank. So, unfortunately.
I think I owe both those runners a bit of an excuse for jinxing them with the answer to my own rhetorical question earlier, where I said that we will only stop seeing E-tanks once we've seen all 14, and I think we've come rather close by now.
Yeah, I'm not sure just because all runners are not picking them up, but I'd say we have like 12 or 13 on the map. So the coveted plasma location, we don't see this a lot in randos. Maybe even less than Shack Tool, the vanilla spring ball location. So let's see what is here. If it is Varia, then once again it's just rather unfortunate. Otherwise, what can it be besides Waterway?
I want this to be Gravel Beam.
And it's bombs.
Oh, another item.
Oh,
that is...
Okay, so it could be... Alright, so it can still be X-Ray in Waterway. I'm sorry, I completely forgot about X-Ray.
X-Ray in Waterway? What do you mean?
For Varia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but this seed turns out to be a very interesting one. Certainly quite frustrating for the runners, because they both just check every location and don't find anything useful. And I guess at this point in the race, they are both getting a little nervous because every location they checked just contained not anything that they really wanted, and they probably both assume that their opponent has gotten some useful items while they just got junk.
Yeah, and as you say that, we see that Stray is going to Shack Tool, thinking that maybe Belthasar went there and did not get junk, and unfortunately Belthasar did get junk there. But Belthasar is picking up Charge Beam. I'm sure he's happy about that in the least. However, that various suit still lingers, so we know Stray will not see it here. But he still needs to do Ice Clip to get to it.
Yes, and while we actually had a little bit of a route divergence, it turns out that it's basically just a permutation. Because Stray basically does the same that Belthasar did, just in a different order. So we still have quite a bit of a race going on.
Oh, there we go. So Stray got that position, and he is now good to hang out in this room for a bit, and then check out the item, and come on back and decide whether he wants to try to do X-ray or go to Waterway. Because, I mean, what else are we missing at this point? There's no other place it can be, right? Is there anything else they did not check outside of Lower Norfair?
I'm trying to think of something, but yeah, the only items I can come up with are Waterway and X-ray.
Yeah. So we've seen where Wave Beam is. Space Jump, of course, can be in Lower Norfair. So that doesn't necessarily have to be one of the items up here. So yeah, hopefully it's not X-ray. However, at this point it doesn't really matter because they have gravity, they have a ton of E-tanks, they can kind of just make their way through the X-ray room and use Spring Ball or Bomb Jump Up or something like that.
Yeah, and probably Grappling Beam will be at Waterway. So if they decide to check Waterway first, they might be able to get to X-ray easily. And yeah, I'm saying it. My guess would be Grappling Beam at Waterway and Warrior Suit at X-ray.
Sounds good to me. I am going to agree with that because
Reasons.
I don't know. I just it feels right. So I'm feeling that both runners are kind of tired now. Probably thinking, well, I just made my way through a tough seed and I have another tough one here. But hopefully they find something good soon. Make their way down to Lower Norfair. Once they do find that one item they're looking for, of course, is Varia, they don't need to stop for anything else. They can just make their way straight through. If they want to check after Ridley or Firefleet tank, it's a really quick check, and it may give them space jump if it happens to be there.
Another interesting option might be, since Straevaras is very well versed in RBO, and Gravity Suit does reduce environmental damage, that he is not going back to search for Varia, which he seems to do, but he could have gone for a Lower Norfair Hell Run, just as in RBO.
Well, we are getting very close. We know that neither runner picked up Wave Beam because of its location at Mama Turtle. So Stray did have to go through that gate in that manner, and if Belthasar decides to go to Waterway, which I mean we'll assume he does that, he'll have to do the same. But within about a minute, we should see what the amazing item here is that we've been hoping for all along and have not seen quite yet. I'm being very optimistic here.
Well, how much optimism is left if it has to be one of two items? And it's Grappling Beam.
And we see in the corner of Stray's screen, very small text, white letters, Y though. My sentiments exactly.
Yeah, in terms of item positioning and progress, this seed has been very, very punishing for the runners.
So Waterway holding grapple, which finally makes X-Ray easy, which X-Ray can only contain one item, Varia. If it does not contain Varia, a black hole opens up and swallows the randomizer tournament, and that's the end of that.
At this point, I have to say shoutouts to Ponk, who I've seen checking X-Ray early quite a lot of times with just damage boosting strats and even rather low health. This would have been probably the ultimate gamble to make in this seed, but none of the runners did it.
And there it is, Varisuit. So, if you are well versed in 80% glitched, or if you just sit around practicing 80% glitch strats for getting to X-Ray early, you might have checked it. But it would be unfortunate for anyone who doesn't feel like they want to go through with that, or just doesn't know how to do it. And that was the case here.
Yes, and at this point, Straevaras is in a slight lead with having Varia suit already and Belthasar having to go check Waterway and then go check X-Ray still. So yeah, Straevaras is in a slight lead. I'm still very much hesitant to call this race basically decided. It certainly is not. But yeah, it's going to be interesting how things develop from here, since both runners are basically, yes, in what's usually called go mode, once Belthasar also finds his Varia suit.
Yeah, Stray does have a lot of E-tanks, mostly full. Doesn't really need to worry about health at all. The only thing is he doesn't have space jump, but not a big thing, especially if you've done the newer route any percent, the Phantoon first any percent. So I'm sure he's comfortable with this kind of lower Norfair.
Yeah. Given he is quite the proficient RBO runner, he should have no problems at all with the equipment he currently has getting into and finishing lower Norfair. And Stray going for the lava spark.
Fortunately, that spark was a little off, but he'll make it up just fine with a gravity jump.
Yes, at this point, the runners have quite a number of options to get into lower Norfair. And I guess gravity jump is not the fastest, but certainly the easiest.
And those seem like bombs of anger for Belthasar. I can't say for sure, but that would probably be the same thing I would be doing. Actually, you know what? That's not what I would be doing. I would probably be about 20 minutes behind these guys at this point.
Yeah, and I guess Belthasar, knowing that Stray might have checked X-Ray a lot earlier than he did. He's probably now feeling really, really pressured. And I can imagine the same being true for Stray. Because if you find Very after such a long journey at X-Ray, I'm quite certain both runners at least consider the possibility that their opponent is close to being done while they are just heading down to lower Norfair, which puts a lot of pressure on both of them.
Yeah. All right, so Stray heading into the depths of Lower Norfair here. Coming very close to Ridley, while Belthasar, as Bender pointed out before, is at a significant disadvantage here. I have my doubts as to whether he can catch up in any way because of the amount of health and the items that Stray has right here.
Yeah, at this point, Stray, if Stray does not make any mistakes and misses any really important tricks, he can win this match on his own devices. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And Stray certainly isn't the kind of guy whose movement is so slow that it would be easy to make up time on him in any way.
Yeah, I would put
So
it in the
yeah,
other direction. Just say Stray's movement is pretty damn good.
yes. And Stray choosing to use Charged Plasma Beam to fight Ridley and not tapping into his stack of supers, at least not yet.
So we'll finish off Ridley here. Looks like with some supers. Just wants to spam the rest of them, have Ridley grab him, and there's the fight. Stray has all the bosses down. Now he just needs to get the heck out of here and over to G4.
And he's not even checking Ridley's item because he knows it can't be anything that really saves time for him. And yeah, Straevaras is basically the entire descent into Lower Norfair down to Ridley ahead at this point, with Belthasar just entering Lower Norfair when Stray leaving Ridley's room. I think Straevaras never saved at any point in this in this race.
Yeah, I can't remember if he did. It doesn't seem like he did. Belthasar, however, took a number of saves, maybe 4 or 5. I know he took a lot of them.
Yes, and my intention with pointing that out is certainly not to jinx anything, but after anything we've seen with this seed, we are ready for quite some wild evil things.
Oh, and as pointed out in chat, Stray did save once before Phantoon.
Okay, that's great. So both runners wouldn't be absolutely, totally devastated if they had to face a death. But we certainly do not hope that, and it certainly does not look like a realistic possibility, given both of them are well equipped with items, and that includes their E-tanks.
Alright, so with finding Screw Attack early on, up to interesting to get as early as the runners got it because they were looking for much more important things, but makes the escape from Lower Norfair a piece of cake, and so Stray, after killing Ridley fairly fast, gets out of Lower Norfair with no issue and is on his way up through Business Center to Golden 4 now.
In the meantime, Belthasar is spending some quality time with the Ninja Pirates on his way to fight Ridley. He's probably going to have a slightly faster Ridley fight if he decides to tap into his 28 super missiles, which I presume he will do. But yeah, we're talking about seconds here. While Stray is already on his way up north, or well, up to the planet's surface, or towards the planet's surface at least, through Meridian.
So with 10 missiles and 5 supers. He'll have 5 after he opens the green gate. Stray really doesn't need to save at the ship. And even if he got unfortunate drops from the Metroids, like really unfortunate drops, he would still be able to refill his missiles and be fine.
Yeah, the only real possibilities I can see for Stray in failing is running out of health, and that's going to be tough to do too, because since both found bombs, they are easily capable of getting rid of Metroids latching onto them. They both have enough E-tanks to certainly not fall prey to 1 or 2 stray beams of ketchup. Yeah, the only thing left is probably soft locking, which is very unlikely.
And Stray past the ship, so I'm not sure if he opened the door to the pre-G4 room early. You do see some runners do that sometimes, so they save a super later. But we'll see as he comes down here.
And Belthasar is on his way out of Lower Norfair.
Alright, so he does have to open that door with a super, leaving him with 10 and 4. But as I said before, 10 and 4 is just fine, especially with having 30 supers in your 30 supers, excuse me, having 30 missiles in your arsenal. Nice speedball from Belthasar there. And Stray already at 7 after the first room.
Yes, farming the Metroids is working quite well for him. And now at 59, this is progressing quickly.
And he looks to be all set at 30 and 12.
Yeah, that's certainly more than he needs to be comfortable. And I'm quite sure he's going to get another round of supers here. Yes, 13-17. That's comfortable enough.
Yeah, I would feel good with that. So very nice amount. And upcoming right now is the baby. He has all the tools to do this. Does not have space jump, but as we know, space jump I think changes the way the baby skip works slightly, maybe more than slightly. I couldn't really tell you. I've only ever tried to do it with space jump.
I'm not sure about the details, but he certainly has high jump boots.
Oh, but it doesn't have a wave, so it's harder to get rid of the growth here. I forgot about that part. I've seen people get grabbed on that alone, but he seems to make it through nicely. He did have a few extra jumps there to have to get rid of that growth, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure if there's an actual name for this stuff that's hanging out there. But yeah,
I'd go with gunk.
Gunk, okay, that's good.
Yeah, he with the number of jumps he had to do, he certainly didn't save as much time with the baby skip than otherwise, but yeah, we're still talking seconds, while Belthasar is at this point minutes behind.
And text says Moss, and I think I'll go with that from now on, Moss. That seems like a good one.
Yeah, moss and cobwebs seems both fitting.
All right, so Stray gets through the first Zeb there. And he is down to Mother Brain 1, Mother Brain 2, Mother Brain 3, and the escape.
And Mother Brain 1 is already a thing of the past. And he currently has 564 energy. Given he has Varia, we certainly all remember the long hunt for that. He needs to be at least, I think, 301 health
Right.
when Mother Brain starts her Rainbow Beam. And that leaves him with about 260 health for damage. And given how well he dodges so far, I don't think he will need even half of that. And there's the catch-up. And there's the rainbow.
All right, so Stray has made it past just about everything that can kill him in this run, with Mother Brain 3 and Escape remaining. And Belthasar coming into G4 right now. We'll see. He has 30-30, so definitely no worries whatsoever about ammo here.
Yeah, we might even see a slightly faster Turian from Belthasar, having to not spend a second thinking about his ammo at this point, and just not picking up, not even picking up most of the Metroid drops.
All right, so while we see Belthasar go through rooms 3 and 4 here, and Stray enjoy the cutscene in this incredible match that we've seen so far. Games 2 and 3, both very trolly for both runners, unfortunately. Wish they would have seen a better seed for their own sakes and their own stress levels. I'd like to just point out that this is the last match for today. And tomorrow we actually have a number of matches going from 2, 3:30, 5, 6:30, and 8 p.m. All across the board. Losers round 4. Names like CFB, Kelcharge, Niestrasver, Quickie Mart, all playing their matches tomorrow. So be sure to check that out. It'll probably be on Speed Gaming 2 and Speed Gaming 1. And that is my plug for the Super Metroid tournament right now.
And we see Straevaras getting quite nice goggles at Mother Brain 2. Which is trying to place a bomb right above Mother Brain's eye just when she dies. And he's now on his way through the escape. With high jump and speed booster, I don't think we see anything unusual or any kind of notable mistake.
I don't believe we do.
The question is now, will Straevaras maybe go to save or kill the animals?
I think there is a 0% chance.
I think it's bigger than that by an infinitesimal amount. He might have a stroke or an aneurysm and suddenly develop the idea to save the animals, which is a really stupid thing to do. But from all I know about Stray, he won't do such stupid things, and he does not.
So Belthasar going for the Zeb skip now. You notice that Belthasar did turn off screw attack for that. And Stray finishing his match in a official SRL time of 1:16:40. Congrats to Stray on his impressive finish of this oh-so-trolly seed. Thank you for seeing it through, Stray. We appreciate it.
Yes. Congratulations from my side to Stray too. We certainly got a very interesting match with that seed. And while we could enjoy seeing the runners run their errands and going in circles, I don't envy them for the probably quite stressful race that this has been.
Yeah, and just want to say a big thanks to Cheaty Face as well for doing the tracking. One of the behind the scenes people. Always appreciate that.
Yes, everybody please proclaim their eternal love for our trackers. To me, they are the unsung heroes of this tournament because, unlike us commentators and the players, you don't really notice that they do anything at all, really, if they do their work properly. So, much love for all of the trackers, and today that is GD Face.
All right, so Belthasar actually doing the stand-up glitch here. He has knowledge, of course, that Stray has finished, so he can do whatever he wants here. He can pull some out-of-bounds stuff if he wants, because unfortunately he's now out of the tournament, and I'm kind of sad because Belthasar is a really good player, and it was nice to see him go through all these matches and give us some entertainment, but unfortunately, this was his last hurrah.
Yes, I agree. It's kind of heartbreaking watching these late losers bracket races because all of the runners that are left in the tournament by now are really capable and really good, and it's not nice to see any of them have to take their leave.
Alright, so Belthasar going through the escape now. I sadly did not see any of the statistics on Straevaras' screen because I was concerned with the health of the runners. Just making sure that everyone's not too stressed out. But I don't know if chat pointed out where Space Jump ended up being, or if you happen to see it, Bender?
I did not happen to see it. I was busy thinking about making Strambulance jokes.
Okay. Yeah, those are good jokes. I like those. Space Jump was up Firefly. Okay, thank you, Fluffy Mittens.
And Belthasar is in the second to last room, unless he decides to go to the animals.
He does not. I think he's had enough of these two seeds. So he's going directly to this ship and finishing off with an SRL time of 1:21:35. GG to Belthasar and farewell.
GG indeed. The game was good, the seed was not.
Yeah, I would say so. All right, so, yeah, like I said before, there are no more Super Metroid races today. I believe there may be some other events happening on the Speed Gaming and Speed Gaming 2 channels, so be sure to check out both of them if you're interested in seeing any of the other events. If you're just interested in Super Metroid, definitely hop in tomorrow starting at 2 p.m. EDT when CFB and Kelcharge do Game 1 of their match for Losers Round 4, and that will continue until 8 p.m. So There will be much more Super Metroid action tomorrow, continuing on Sunday and Monday and Tuesday. So don't worry if you love seeing these matches and you love seeing good seeds and bad seeds and everything alike. Just stick around and you will see a lot more of this action going on throughout September and October.
Yes, this leaves me with basically nothing to add. I thank all of you wonderful runners for playing for our pure pleasure and enjoyment in these tournaments, and also to all the viewers and people in chat for putting up with my B-level commentary, as I've been called out for doing in the past, and for sharing this match with us.
Yeah, and thank you very much for joining me on this commentary bender. Thank you very much, chat, for putting up with my mistakes in commentary. I hope they were amusing at the very least. And as Bender pointed out, thanks to both of our runners. Don't forget to follow the runners, and don't forget to follow our tracker. And thanks for watching. See you next time.
You're very welcome, Typo, for having me as a co-commentator, and I sign off myself and wish everybody a great afternoon, morning, evening, night, or whatever the time is. See you guys.